Welcome everybody to your second Pilates homework practice, which is going to start with some standing stretches to just mobilise the body before we go back onto the mat with a few different variations. Looks like Sam's given up already on the Pilates today. So we're going to start with some roll downs and side stretches, a little bit of rotation, ideas that can be used just as a standalone mini workout or as a good warm-up for the floor work. I'm going to start with some walking hands because I particularly find that if I don't warm up my upper spine, my shoulders a little bit, then the other movements are always a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to stand at an angle to the camera, so hopefully you can get enough of a view of the movement. So feel that the soles of the feet have a sense of rootedness with the floor, and the legs are long and straight, not too tense in the joints. Lightly close the glutes, lift the hip bones at the front, allow the tailbone to drop. Engage the deep abdominals gently and feel if you do tend to drop your shoulders forward, sense a slight lift forwards and float upwards of your chest bone so that the collarbones are wide and the outside of the top of the arm feels spacious. Poise the head, slight tuck in of the chin. So the thumbnails now should be hanging looking forward. So we're going to feel what I call the sort of armpit muscles, the serratus anterior, as we bring the hands up, ready to walk the hands up the imaginary wall. So in this position, I am feeling that engaging of the serratus muscles so that it's almost as though I'm holding postcards under my armpits. And if you were stood behind me, you wouldn't be able to tug the postcards easily out from under my armpits. Now, imagine the wall, because that slight sensation of fingertip pressure on the surface of the wall helps to engage some of those deep upper back and shoulder girdle muscles. So we're going to just breathe in, walking the fingertips up the wall without taking the gaze up to the fingertips. Slight feeling of reach. We've got roots and wings. As you feel that imaginary pressure of your fingertips against the wall, the arms are coming down, but the crown of the head is floating skywards. Come up again, walk the fingers up the wall, so it's slightly in front of you. You don't need to overstretch. It's just a warming up. As you feel that pressure of the fingertips, imagining them pressing slightly into the wall, you'll notice the sensation of activation of muscle in that thoracic area. Bring the fingers up, walking up the wall on the in-breath, and sliding the palms down the wall. So we're going to go into our roll down. We're not going to take it with straight legs because this is just really to warm the body up, and in particular to feel the articulation of the spine and the way that the abdominals relate to support the spine. So taking a breath in, we allow the head to wilt. Without allowing the shoulders to cave inwards, we allow the chest to soften in so the ribs drop inwards towards the waist. The abdominals are lifting to support the spine as we feel that gentle rounding through the upper back. If there starts to be a little bit of discomfort, soften the knees. Allow the feeling to be of the arms sliding off the shoulders and the shoulders sliding off the back. Be careful that you don't lean back into the heels or take a twist to one side. Keep as aligned as you can. Relax at the bottom. Take a breath as you come back up. Feel the rootedness of the feet. Start to feel the energy in the calves and the back of the legs, the closing of the glutes, the lift of the abdominals towards the spine. Don't rush as you start to elongate and articulate through the spine, lifting the chest, opening the collarbones and arriving with the head on top. We'll take that again. In breath. On the out breath, allow the head to droop. Allow the chest bone to soften and the ribs to move downwards. The arms drop away from the body very quickly here, and the weight of the arms and the weight of the head is all that is needed to give that nice stretch through the whole of the musculature of the back, the spine. So we're keeping the knees bending at the bottom, but we're not allowing the knees to collide towards each other. In particular, as you come back up, watch for that. Use the glutes. So really the upper torso remains quite limp, quite soft and inactive, and you're using the deeper musculature of the torso to work the motion. So one more time. Droop the head, soften the chest. It begins to feel a little bit more organized as you go through your repetitions, and you may find there's more fluidity and that you can move just with a little bit more pace. Coming up. Side stretch or side bend, whichever makes sense to you. Doesn't matter which arm you use because we're going to work it both sides, so I'm going to work with my right arm first. Going to slide the right hand down the side of the right leg, allowing the gaze to track down towards the right heel. On the in-breath, we're going to lift. On the out-breath, it's the other hand sliding down the leg as we curve over and feel the stretch on that upward arm side. Lift and recover. Second side, in-breath. On the out-breath, take the side bend, reach down the side of your knee. How does that compare with the first side? In-breath, lift, upward stretch. Out-breath, lift and side stretch. Feeling the right hand going down the side of my right knee. Lift and recover. Right hand down to the knee. In-breath. Using that breath to get that feeling almost of taking off. Up and over. Turning the head allows the neck to be a little bit easier than keeping the head straight forward, but you can do that if you wish. Last time. Down the side. Be careful not to let the other shoulder lift up. Keep the profile of your shoulders and hip bones and knees and feet facing the front, although your head is turning to look down to the side of your foot. In breath to lift up. Out breath. Relaxing the shoulders, let them cascade down your back. We're using the torso, not the shoulders. Lift and recover. So this time take a little bit of rotation. We're really just using this not so much as a technical practice, but more as a warm-up for the body. So going to inhale. On the exhale, connect with the deep abdominals. Begin to rotate on the out breath to the right and taking an in breath to extend and reach. Coming back to the center. Take a breath. Moving on the out breath, engaging the deep abdominals, rotating through the spine. It's a spiral. We're going to in-breath, open and reach. Come back to the center. In-breath, on the out-breath, engage. Feel how the spiral effect articulates the spine, one bone moving on top of the other. As you open the arm, keep the whole front of the chest and the armpit open and the shoulder blade down the back. And back to the center. Last time. Take a breath. On the out breath, engage the deep abdominals. Begin to softly rotate. There's no need to overdo the movement itself will help to create more feeling of mobility. In breath and come back to the center. Relax forward on bent knees. Just allow your whole torso to feel limp, restful. So we're now going to take a short series in 4-point kneeling or on all fours. If this little series doesn't suit you, you can go back to the first homework practice and take your pelvic tilts as your sort of core and spine exercise, and you can do the star exercise, lifting the opposite arm and leg instead of doing the dog exercise on all fours. So coming into 4-point kneeling, as I've said before, if it's not great for you with wrists or knees, don't do too much, if at all, on the hands and the knees, because you can recreate the movement very well by taking your pelvic tilts and alternative exercises. As we come onto the palms and the knees, have a sense of how the weight is now distributed through the 4 corners. And we've got a nice place here to feel the shoulder joint and the hip joint whilst maintaining the stability of the torso. I like to have a sense of roots through my palms, but also to feel that I'm lengthening my shins, the tops of my ankles and feet into the ground, not really trying to sink my knees into the floor, which tends to be a little bit painful on the knees. So the hands are shoulder width apart, the knees are hip width apart. And try to feel that you've got a balance of weight between those 4 corners. Now, as you resist the ground, you push away to create that sense of lifting out of the armpits. Hold your armpits wide, allow your shoulder blades to sit comfortably where they need to be in the back, and allow the arms to be straight but not locked. So we're going to relax the abdominals. We're going to take a breath in, and on the out breath, we're going to draw the deep abdominals strongly inwards to create a strong feeling of a corset around our midsection. Relax them. Important to let go. Then we are aware of both the contraction and relaxation of these muscles. In breath. On the out breath, no movement of the spine yet. Just draw the navel towards the spine, but feel how that is actually an activation of muscle all around your midsection. It's not really just the navel. Relax. Let go of the belly. Take a breath. On the out breath, draw the tummy muscles in. Keep rechecking the position, because I know my shoulders do tend to start to ride up. Also check that the back of the neck is long. So into some cat curls. We're going to take a breath. On the out breath, engage the deep abdominals and focus on your tailbone, so that as you allow the movement to articulate from the tail through the sacrum, through the lumbar, through the waist, the lower part of your rib cage, the mid and upper part of your spine, finally relaxing the head. It feels as though your back is like a sheet that you've tossed and it's caught the air underneath it. There's a feeling of breadth, width and length through the spine. Little breath. Starting with the tail, we move in the reverse direction through the spine. I find that if I start with one end of the spine or the other, I have a better chance of gaining a little bit of movement through the tighter sections of my spine. So, out breath, tail, sacrum, lumbar, through the thoracic. Not forgetting to relax the head whilst avoiding tightening up the shoulders. Little breath. On the out breath, start from the tail. So you can carry on with a few more of those. I'm just going to take one more. Remember that what the view that you have of my body doing this is my own unique anatomy, and we will all look and feel a little different as we do that movement. Sit back for a moment if it's comfortable into your rest position, aiming your sit bones towards your heels, relaxing the feet as much as possible, and have a stretch through the shoulders as well. So we're going to now go into our dog exercise, which is a good way of strengthening the muscles on the back of the body, in particular the muscles of the hip, the glutes. It's never, I don't think, as easy as it sometimes looks when you see this illustrated on the pages of a book, and it does require a lot of attention to the way we're balanced and the use of the trunk muscles. So we're going to think about how our palms, our arms, our legs are our roots into the ground, but how we can then feel the extension and lift of the limbs into the dog exercise itself. So we're going to breathe in, and as we exhale, we're engaging those deep abdominals. We're going to point the left hand and the right toe. Now, it's not a reach that distorts the shape that we are in. It's more of a lift that activates the muscles of the shoulder and the hip. So from here, we're going up and out. Come back to the point and back into your 4-point kneel. Take a breath. On the out breath, engage and point. So I hopefully have not leant to the side, because as I take 2 corners away, I'm using more around my midsection, feeling a little bit more sense of pressure through the 2 remaining standing corners. Out breath to lift. You could do this just the arms or just the legs. In breath, out breath to engage, point, lift. In breath, out breath. So once you have got your organization, you can create a steady flowing rhythm. My shoulders are quite tight, so the line through my shoulder and arm is possibly not as good as it could be, but I'm working to feel that connection between the opposite corners. So my left shoulder connecting with my right glute. This is very similar to the exercise lying prone in the previous set, where you did the star, but it's a little bit harder because of holding your body weight off the ground. A couple more times. Out breath. Remember here, as you get tired, keep your mind on the job. Keep a sense of awareness of what's actually happening, not what you hope is happening last time. So make sure you finish on a good one. Precision, steady speed, and acknowledgement. Come back and have a stretch. Coming onto the mat, one of my favourite exercises, single leg stretch. This is a little bit stronger, so if you do have neck issues, hip issues, perhaps go back to some of the more basic exercises. But I find this one brings together all the important aspects of Pilates, the strength, the feeling of length, the coordination, the flow, the rhythm, the breath. So here we go, single leg stretch. We start in semi-supine. Always good to prepare slowly. So we bring one knee up into tabletop, second knee, lightly pointed feet. With a strong activation of your abdominals, we unweight the head and roll the upper torso up, taking the hands to the shins. Now you can either keep the arms there to simplify it, or you can use your arms in a coordinated way to give you the full practice. And take a breath in. On the out breath, we're going to extend the right leg, taking the right hand to the left knee. And we're using a pulse breath. We're keeping a strong activation on the abdominals. And there's a feeling of slight pause as that leg finishes the extension. So it feels as though it's still going on out into space. Take a rest. You can come up and do a second series. So take a breath in. On the out breath, engage the abdominals, unweight the head, up we go. You can also slightly turn out the leg as it's extending, which will give you a little bit more work into those inner thighs. As soon as you feel that there may be some tension in the neck, take a rest. Come down, relax the knees to the chest, lengthen out the back of the neck. So now some big hip rolls, and this will still make use of your abdominals, particularly your obliques, to organise the movement and support the spine while you rotate. But it's also nice to do some rotational movement after you've done the more linear exercise there with the single leg stretch. So you can either have your arms low, or you could take them a little bit higher up if you want a little bit more stretch across the upper body. And the feet are going to be wider than hip width, sort of second position. So the feet don't slide, but they will rotate onto the arches at the sides of the foot. So we're going to inhale. On the exhale, engage the abdominals gently and steadily, and allow the knees to drop gently to the right. Allow the right knee to go a little ahead of the left one. So when you're there, there's no need to push or force. You can turn your head in the opposite direction to your knees and enjoy the stretch through the body, through the hip and the legs. Take a breath in. On the out breath, engage the abdominals, begin to lift the knees and over to the other side. Once you've done the rotation, as you take a breath in, turn the head. This gives a lovely spiral through the whole spine and feels nice after the abdominal exercise you've just done. In breath, out breath, engage, lift, rotate, turn the head, inhale. As you take the breath into the body, feel how the in-breath allows the whole of the body to open up a little bit into that shape, into the feeling of expansion. Exhale to move. Now it may feel different one side to the other, so my knee drops more to the ground on one side than it does on the other. Make sure you still do this thoughtfully rather than allowing it just to become habitual, because the use of the abdominals to support the movement and then the moment of release, relaxation and opening, they're all important aspects of the sequence. Come back up to standing, bring the knees to the chest and take a moment's rest. Hip combination exercise. This is a more challenging exercise for the hip, but it develops on from your shell exercise. So if you're feeling that this is a strong day for you, give it a go. You can decide for yourself whether to extend the leg or not. It works either way. So take a breath in. On the exhale, lift the abdominals and abduct the top leg a little bit. On the in-breath, bend the knee. The balance is going to be a little more tricky here, so just check that you've got the palms of the hands supporting you. On the out-breath, squeeze the glutes so that the top thigh moves a little bit behind you, but without arching the lower back. On an in-breath, we use those deep hip muscles, the glutes, to bring the knee up and the foot forwards. Be careful to bring the heel forwards as well. On an in-breath, press the sole of the foot a little bit into the other leg, not too hard. And on the out-breath, lift and stretch the leg up towards the sky. Careful not to lean back. Flex the foot and squeeze the top leg down to join the other lengthening leg. Sam sounds a little bit lively in the background. Take a breath in. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Extend the hip. In breath. Bring the foot in. Out breath. Lift. In breath. Extend a little bit more. Out breath to squeeze and lower. Take a breath. Lift. Bend. Squeeze the glute. Leg a little bit behind you. Rotate, 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 rotate. Press gently into the thigh of the other leg. Lift and extend. Flex, squeeze and lower. So we're on to our second side for the hip exercise. This is definitely my weaker hip, so it needs work. So abdominals lifted, shoulders stacked, hips stacked, legs lengthened. And take a breath in. On the out breath, we abduct the top leg. On the in breath, we flex. And then on the out breath, extend the thigh a little bit behind using the glute activation. We're going to bring the toe towards the knee, lifting the knee using the glutes and the hip muscles. Slight press into the bottom leg. Pointing the toe, extend and reach towards the sky. Flex, squeeze the adductors to reach the top leg into the bottom leg. On an out breath, we lift. On an in breath, we flex. On an out breath, use that glute and take the leg a little bit behind. Rotating, toe comes in, knee goes up. Pressure, sole of the foot. Lift, extend. Flex, squeeze the inner thigh. So we do this about 3 times. It's quite complex. So we want to pay attention to each small movement, not do too many times. Extend, flex, squeeze and stretch. So to finish, I'm going to take the same saw exercise from the previous sequence, but we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. So we're going to use Cameron's version of the saw. So, sitting tall, chest nice and open, shoulder blades cascading down the back, feeling our weight on top of the sit bones, legs lengthened, not too wide, and we're going to lift on the in-breath. On our out breath, we're going to take the left hand towards the right foot in our basic saw. Remember, we're keeping both glutes firmly on the floor. We're going to take the back hand through towards the big toe on an in-breath. On an out breath, bit of a rainbow movement, lovely arc, lifting up, rotating, taking the head a little way round if that's comfortable. Lift and extend and reach slightly backwards. Strong centre. Coming up, we're in the right place to go to the other side. In breath, out breath, saw. In breath, left hand to the big toe. Out breath, big arc. rotation. Feel that lovely opening. We've got that rotation back that we started off with in our standing exercises. Lift. If you feel comfortable with it, little reach backwards, coming up. Out breath. In breath. 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 Bring the legs together. Lift up. Breathing out, scoop the abdominals, slide the shoulder blades away. Bow the head over the top of the knees, reaching gently for the toes. And again. Lift. Out breath. And again. Lift. Out breath. Now if you feel comfortable, pointing the toes, hands slightly behind you, fingertips pointing forwards. Take a breath. Feel your strength, your length, your breath, your coordination. Up. Feel that you're lifting out of your armpits. Squeeze your glutes, lengthen your legs. Careful not to let your head tip backwards. Come back down. Bring the knees in and relax. So everybody, I hope that you enjoy this second offering from your Fiona will know Pilates online school. I hope you enjoy it as much as I am loving having all your feedback, your emails, your stories. You're making me smile and you're making me chuckle and you're making me miss you more than ever. But more than anything else, you're giving me a sense of purpose, because it feels that whilst I am enjoying all this lovely weather and my garden and my daughter, I'm also being a little bit useful to you. So that is a second program of mat work with a little bit of stronger work for you. Next up is a seated program, which is mainly for the upper torso, mainly for the upper body, upper spine, but I will include some other movements too, so that this hopefully will be useful to anybody who wants to just have a seated workout. So you're going to need a softball or your cushion next time. You're also going to need your weights, sort of 1 to 2 kilograms. You can either be on your ball or on a chair. One of the exercises will require a chair. So I will see you soon with the third Pilates video, and in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and keep practicing.